As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Son of a bitch. He stole my life.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Welcome back to the Shot by Shot podcast. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ryan and Will. Today, unfortunately, Oscar can't be with us, but possibly he's going to record his thoughts separately. Maybe will, maybe won't. We'll see. But today, we're going to be talking about a film from this year, which certainly is very good at generating conversation. And we have a lot to say about it, both good, some maybe not as good, and that is Saltburn, which is definitely a film that leaves you with a lot to think about and leaves you with a lot to talk about, for better, for worse. But yeah, let's get right into it. So, Will, what were your thoughts on Saltburn? Just introduction thoughts, and if they haven't seen Saltburn, why should they see it, or why should they proceed with some caution, possibly?
I saw that Saltburn was getting a release like a couple years ago. It was, and in the catchphrase, it was a talented Mr. Ripley remake, and I was like, what the heck? So I did some more research, and I was like looking up on it, and then talented Mr. Ripley, I'd never heard of it, and then I was like, oh my god, this has a couple of my favorite actors in it. I'll dive into it. So I actually dove into talented Mr. Ripley earlier this year and adored it. I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic. So I was super pumped. Like, Saltburn coming out this year, supposed to be similar to talented Mr. Ripley, so my anticipation was pretty high. Like, I was pretty pumped for this one. And then when I saw that Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi got cast, I was like, holy shit, here we go. Like, these are some of the big up-and-comers in Hollywood. So my anticipation was pretty high going in. And I have to say I was a little underwhelmed. I kind of came away with it a little confused. It was definitely a shocking film, a really surreal experience in that front. Like Alex said, it is drawing a lot of conversation due to some of the interesting scenes, we'll say, that are sprinkled throughout here. I'm sure we'll touch on them later in the podcast. But yeah, it was just kind of all over the place. Some cool stuff, some good, some bad, like Alex said. But I enjoyed it. I initially gave it a 4 out of 5, but I've since dropped it down to a 3.5. I think that more aptly describes it as a film, I think. I haven't really thought about it a whole bunch since I saw it in theaters last week. But I still enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was a cool film and a good film we'll talk about and get into here. But Ryan, how about you? What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of the same thoughts as you. Saltburn was one of my most anticipated of the second half of the year, especially after I know Oscar went to London Film Festival and there was a lot of high ratings coming out of that. So I was really excited after seeing all those ratings, and I did enjoy Emerald Fennell's first film, Promising Young Lady, so I was excited to see what else she could do. And I think I did enjoy this more than Promising Young Lady. If any of you have seen that, I'm not sure.
Promising Young Woman, I think. Promising Young Woman.
Is it?
Promising Young Woman. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, it may be actually, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and anything that Barry Keoghan is in, I'm going to be like first opening. Well, I didn't go opening night, but I'll be there to watch anything Barry Keoghan is in, because he's just such a great actor now, and of course was good in this as expected, along with a lot of the cast that you were saying. And there's a lot of good performances in this movie. It's more just, I did have some problems with the screenplay, like you were saying. Like, there is problems with this film. I don't think it makes full use of all the opportunities it sets up, and particularly the first half, and I don't think it particularly perfectly lands like that ending as well. And it's kind of one of the worst examples of show don't tell that I've probably seen all year. So I didn't love all of the film. However, it was still a good time. It was certainly up there as one of the most interestingly like visual films of the year. It was just a good time in the movies. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 as well. What did you think, Alex?
I have so much to say about this film. It's probably the film of the year where, as soon as I was done watching it, I just had to see what other people were saying about it, because it definitely left me with the most mixed feelings of any film I've seen this year and probably throughout the last few years. It's absolutely a film that I want to like more than I am able to like, and I think that there's so much that I really do love about it, and the high highs of this film are like, there's some things this film does breathtakingly incredibly well, and there's some things about the film that I also just can't really get past and overlook, and I do agree the screenplay is probably the real weak point for me here, and I definitely don't love the screenplay of the film. However, I think that it's truly one of the best directions of the year, and I think Emerald Fennell, her talents as a director, are on full display here, giving us one of the best directions of the year, which I think makes us kind of need to have an interesting conversation about the Academy Awards, where, if you've been following, the Oscar predictions, this film likely is not going to receive many nominations and probably not many in the real high-profile awards. And I think, the way, for those of you who don't know, the Academy works is that there are campaigns behind these films, and studios pick and choose which ones they want to promote and really push for an Oscar campaign. And I think when comparing it to, two films like Past Lives and The Holdovers, both of which are very likely going to be nominated, not just for Best Picture, but many other awards, I think, I do think both of those, Past Lives and The Holdovers, are better films than Saltburn, but I think that, when talking about Best Director, those directors are more likely to get nominated for Best Director due to the momentum behind the films as a whole. And truthfully speaking, I'm not quite sure Saltburn belongs in the Best Picture conversation, but it's one of the best directions of the year. I think she absolutely does deserve a nomination for Best Director. And, I think this is the best female-directed film of the year, and not even to just group her in that isolated conversation. I think it's genuinely a top 5 direction of the year and is better than, a lot of the men who are going to get nominated as well. Like, I think it's a better direction than what Alexander Payne brings to The Holdovers. And what he does there is great, and that's what that film needed to be. But Emerald Fennell's, attention to detail and how specific of a vision she brings to this is truly remarkable. Like, every scene is very meticulously crafted. You can tell she has a great amount of care for the set design and the way the sets are dressed, and the lighting and the imagery. It's all absolutely breathtaking. And like I said, this is a film that I really do want to love. I want to, like I said, there's the things it does well, it does insanely well. But there's also things like in the writing that you can't necessarily overlook, and it does kind of hurt the audience experience of the film. And at the same time, like we've mentioned, there's some really disturbing shit in this movie. There are scenes that I do not ever care to watch again. As much as I respect this film, I don't know if it's a film I'm going to be. It was painful enough to watch a second time. I don't know if a third is in my future, but it's there are some things that are definitely going to make you want to vomit in this movie. But I think that in terms of like Emerald Fennell's attention to detail with the set design, I think that the real main character of this film is the place of Saltburn. And obviously Saltburn is the mansion and the estate where most of the film is set in this isolated location. And so, yeah, I'm curious, Ryan, what were your thoughts on her approach to, just the place of Saltburn and this isolated kind of setting that the film takes place in?
Yeah, I totally agree about what you were saying about her direction. I think it is probably one of the better directed films of the year, and it goes to show just how beautiful in this film is. Like, particularly that, I love that, like, 4:3 aspect ratio. I know some people I've seen some criticisms about it, just saying it's just there to be, like, maybe pretentious or something, but I think I think it's a cheat code to creating beautiful shots, firstly, because there's just, and yeah, there's so many films that just look so great in 4:3, and there's definitely no shortage of just beautiful locations in this film. Like, we start at Oxford University, like that just has so many beautiful locations, and then, like you were saying, we go to the stunning architecture of the mansion in Saltburn, and that really allows Fennell to really capture so much of those grand halls on screen. I think, like, fitting so much on the screen, and it really works towards the story as well, because it makes Oliver feel like out of place. He's quite small in this new environment that he's never been to before. It's like outside his comfort zone. He's from the north of England. He's just came down to this completely, basically just lords and ladies like environment. So it really helps like show that through the screen. And then even in the intimate scenes, I think it also makes you feel like you're kind of eavesdropping on these moments as well. There are things that you shouldn't be seeing. So I think it really works well there, too. So yeah, their direction is brilliant in this film, I think. And then the film has definitely got like some of the most stunning like shots of the year. But yeah, a great direction. What did you think about it, Will?
Yeah, I totally echo what you guys are saying. I think the direction of this film was fantastic. I think there's a definitive vision that Emerald Fennell was trying to go for here, and I think she captured it in some essence, whether good or bad. She's no stranger to the strident or controversial story like we saw with Promising Young Woman. So I think she really got what she was setting out for, and it shows with her directorial flair. Like Ryan was kind of talking about the aspect ratio. I thought that was great, and I saw a video of her kind of explaining. No director should ever have to explain any artistic decision, by the way, but she was explaining like why she opted for the 4:3, and she said, like Alex said, Saltburn is such a character, and she wanted it to feel so grand, and she felt that the that aspect ratio would lend itself great to the height and the arches and the architecture of Saltburn. So, and I totally agreed. Like I thought it kind of fit right in there, and like Ryan's saying, you kind of have this like eavesdropping, peering approach, like that 4:3 kind of worked there. Additionally, I also think it works with the Gen Z kind of aspect of this movie. There is a lot going on, so I'll kind of bounce around my thoughts about that. But like, I feel like this is a very Gen Z movie in the way it's set up. Like 4:3 aspect ratio, vertical video, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know. Obviously, everyone in this movie is gorgeous. Like the two men are just beautiful. And then just like the speed in which it like jumps from crazy thing to crazy thing, it just kind of feels like a TikTok movie. To me, but I think that mainly comes down to the writing. I think the writing is kind of the weakest component, I'd say. There isn't really like a good ending or I don't know, something to really latch onto. Like there are main characters that go through, a decent amount of change, and their arcs are cool, but the ending of just like spoon feeding back to you what she just spent 2 hours trying to describe, it just completely ruins it for me. Like, I don't know, that whole ending sequence of seeing, Barry typing on the laptop, typing nothing on the laptop, and then, popping his tire on the bike. Like, we already knew, we knew it was a plan from the get-go, but going back and circling back, I think shows it's weak writing. So I didn't like that at all. But from a direction standpoint, like we kind of outlined, exceptional. Some really beautiful shots in here, really making the most of her actors and the space. Like there's a really gorgeous shot of Jacob Elordi pressed up against windows with the sunlight kind of peering in the background. There's beautiful exteriors of Saltburn, like Alex was mentioning, such a character in the film. So yeah, her directorial vision's definitely pronounced, but the writing and the storytelling is a little bit lackluster for me. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think one thing I really do love about this film is that I like films that are about places, and this is certainly a film about a place. I really didn't. I know a lot of people like the first half. I really didn't love the first act. Like, I was really struggling to find anything I connect with. And maybe that's kind of like what Will was saying, the Gen Z thing of maybe I'm just kind of like, I didn't go to university. I'm not from the UK. So maybe it's just I was a little out of touch there in terms of, the insider humor to it, maybe. But
yeah, it could be that like UK American divide as well is probably a big thing.
Yeah, I was wondering. It's because I think someone even said that it was like very UK humor, and they were curious how that translated to an American audience. So I don't know, Ryan. Did you find what do you think of the first act from the UK?
Yeah, I think me and Oscar did think it was both quite funny. There's a lot of moments. I don't know. It's maybe a bit too humanist. Like there's like moments where it's like almost not real life. Like the characters don't act like real people. There's obviously there was that when they go into the have dinner scene with like all the students in the college, and well, that's when we kind of introduced that they all kind of know each other from boarding schools, or they're all quite like upper class people that all do know each other, and Oliver's very different from them, and he goes to sit at a table, and like there's just one other guy that doesn't know anybody either, and this guy is a psychopath as well. Like he's played by Ewan Mitchell. He is actually a good actor in House of Dragon. If any of you have seen that, but I did not like him in this film. Like he is maybe even more psychopath than Oliver in this film. Like that man, like that first scene where he's like, that was the first scene when I was like, oh, the writing is a bit dodgy here. Like I'm not sure about this. Like when he asks Oliver to give him a sum, because he's a math student, so of course he has to be a massive nerd and just finish these sums in his head, these ridiculous numbers, and then when he doesn't give him a number, he just screams, and the whole college stops and turns around and stops and stares at them. And it's just, this isn't a real like human interaction like here. Like it's just just not a conversation that real people would have. Like this guy needs to be locked up, and we're supposed to feel bad when Oliver eventually just dumps that guy and goes hangs out with like the cool kids. But honestly, there's like no wonder like he should be staying as far away from that guy. Like that guy is. There's another movie where that guy is just killed like half of Oxford. Like is but yeah, there was a lot of good funny moments. I think particularly like you were saying, like you didn't go to uni. So I think there's a lot of things that like you maybe relate to. I mean, like I don't relate to Oxford because Oxford's just like a different like ball game completely. But there was some moments in there where it's like, yeah, like that's relatable to like starting uni, like not knowing people or anything like that. So there was some good moments that maybe UK people that would relate with.
I mean, I thought it was pretty funny too. Like I'm from Canada, obviously, but I thought it was pretty comedic. Like there are definitely some moments that hit that made me laugh out loud. But like Ryan said, it's kind of tonally deaf. Like it doesn't really know when to strike. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, the writing's a little all over the place. Like it's kind of like this homoerotic movie, but it's also like a thriller and it's like a mystery, but it's also a period piece, and like it's just kind of all over the place. So I think like if there was maybe like a more decisive vision and they just kind of flushed out one theme more in depth and didn't focus on so many different things, it might have been a less, contrived story, a less all over the place. But at the end of the day, it is kind of all over the place. And like Ryan was saying, it kind of just doesn't really hit when it needs to hit. But it is funny. It does look good, so it lends itself to that. But yeah, Alex, what did you think about the direction?
Yeah,
or the moments of comedy?
Yeah, I think once we get out of the first act and we get to the place, I think that's when, at least for me, it starts to get interesting. And I think, it's almost like I really believe that the place is more the main character than in Barry Keoghan's character, where I think that it's kind of we introduced the main character very late in the film, and I think it's very important to us just the way the place is introduced with like these grand like orchestral strings in the score. And once we actually see the place, it goes from like very smooth to like a more like avant-garde sound of like more rapid and uneven in terms of the way the music is playing, which I think is just very a musical commentary on the place to introduce it. But this is a film that you feel like you're in an isolated character's POV, but I'm actually not convinced that we really are. I think that this is a film that lies to us a lot. And I think that, some people have compared it to Hitchcock with like this rear window voyeurism and a lot of elements of his film Rebecca from 1940, if anyone's seen that. But it's very different from Hitchcock, where Hitchcock's main philosophy in terms of storytelling was all about giving the audience information and creating suspense through the information. Whereas in this film, a lot of the information's withheld from us, and a lot of things we find out later. Like we really don't know much about Oliver is the name of Barry Keoghan's character, and we really don't know much about him, and we're lied to about him the same way that Jacob Elordi's character is. And the film really does lie to us, and I don't think we're an insider into the mind of Oliver. I think what we're an insider to is the place of Saltburn. And I think more than, a subjective experience, this is more of an observational piece. And I think that we're really watching, what do these walls see? And in the direction, just the imagery, we're constantly seeing like window frames and like this kind of reminding us of this voyeurism and, watching each other. And even though Saltburn is like this castle and this big mansion and beautiful place to live in, we really see a world without any form of privacy. Like, he breaks the mirror and the guy fixes the mirror the next day. Like someone's been in his room. Like he warns him about like how his like clothes are unpacked for him and stuff. And there's really no privacy in the world. And it gets to a very disturbing degree of like seeing people in states and doing things that we don't want to see them in. And it's very much where we're watching, what do the walls see? What does the place itself see? Rather than always what the characters are seeing. Whereas the characters are constantly still looking at each other, and we see like this constant chain of voyeurism and watching each other. like even different people watching Oliver from a distance. Like, for example, when he's outside with Venetia, who's the cousin, and we see the character Farley is now like watching him, and we see the window frame there the same way Oliver had been watching Venetia. And there's this chain of voyeurism and just everyone watching each other. And despite the beauty of the place, it's absolutely a world with no privacy. And we see the disturbingness of a world with no privacy on that level. But yeah, I'll pass it off to Will. What other thoughts did you have?
That's actually a really interesting point about privacy. I hadn't really considered that. Like, entering Saltburn was a complete, like, revoking of your privacy. Like, that scene where they go into the fields, I think Jacob even says, or whatever his name is, there's no clothes in the field. Or, like, you got to take your clothes off. And they're all naked in the Saltburn field. And then there's just so many nude scenes throughout this. But yeah, that's a really good perspective about privacy that I hadn't really considered. But what I wanted to talk about is kind of how Emerald Fennell does a really good job of keeping her characters at a distance from us. Like, you talked about privacy, but there's also like this unreliable narrator that's kind of like woven through, like you mentioned. And I think there's like a good balance of telling the truth, but also deception. So you don't really know what's going on. And maybe even Barry's character doesn't even know what's going on. Like, there's kind of a lack of truth, like a lack of universal understanding. So she's able to keep her characters at a distance that's real enough where they feel like grounded, but it's also like surrealist. Like I mentioned in my review that I was getting, stylistic themes similar to a Yorgos Lanthimos movie or a David Lynch movie. Like, there's some really surreal stuff here that is pretty introspective and pretty character driven. So although the writing's a little bit lousy, I think there is like an artistic vision that she's trying to flesh out. And with the character of Saltburn, just kind of removing the privacy from our leads, I think it's a pretty good reflection or metaphor there. So yeah, directorially, it's super sound. And Saltburn probably is the main character. I would probably echo that. Like, it is kind of like a fly on the wall film where we're just kind of peering in, kind of Hitchcockian. So I totally agree with everything Alex is saying. But Ryan, did you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it was really interesting what you said about like we don't really have the insight into the mind of Barry Keoghan in this. And what you said there, Alex, about the Rebecca, I actually hadn't connected those two films like kind of being similar. I'd mostly just seen Talented Mr. Ripley. I don't know if you've seen that actually, but yeah, it's kind of like starts kind of similar, except kind of in that one you're kind of in with the deceitful plan of Matt Damon's character, whereas in this one, like you're not really in that plan, like you were saying, to kind of infiltrate Felix's life. And yeah, I don't know, I did quite like the first half of the film. I'm not sure if I liked it more than the second half or not, but as we kind of like get to like follow Oliver as he joins Oxford like on his first day, like I feel like you kind of do like you were saying, she kind of tricks you. I mean, you do kind of maybe like feel bad for him because he's moving into accommodation, meeting people, like the usual uni stuff. But you're instantly kind of made aware that he doesn't quite fit in here. Like the college is full of just these very posh, lots of Tories like Oscar. Even the lecturer assigned to him is pretty weird with him. Like he's almost looking down on him for being from Merseyside. Which Alex, I'm curious to see if you're like connected to stuff. Cause, like, did you know that he was like from the north and like that'd be like from a more like working class area and like stuff? Like, did you like understood what he meant when he was like saying like where he's from?
I knew that he was like telling him that he was from working class, like from. I think it was more one of the conversations where he talked about his parents, like the situation with his parents, where I kind of picked that up, but. Just alone being from the north, like that meant nothing to me. Like I didn't connect any dots there at all personally.
Yeah, because I do think it's a really interesting premise, like this like working class kid like coming down from Liverpool like all the way down to the south to like study at Oxford. Of course that's not really like what's actually happening, so again I'd like twist that, and I don't know if I actually like that because I did like what she'd set up and she didn't really like further explore that. She still explores classes within the UK, but it's a bit different to what I I'd expected to have, like, just coming out of the first half. Because I really like the scenes where like stuff where like Oliver wasn't able to like pay for his round at the bar. And that certainly got like an interesting twist out, like looking back on it after you finish the movie. Yeah, the whole first half is pretty much different once you finish the movie, because you can kind of see like everywhere where he's just like tricked Felix. But yeah, I did like the first half. Yeah, did you have anything else to say about that, like kind of first half of the first half Oxford kind of section of the film?
Yeah, I much preferred the first half opposed to the second half. Like, the second half definitely gets weirder. So it wasn't like necessarily that. Like, I did appreciate the moments of absurdity. Like, we'll get into the the bathtub scene, but the second half just kind of like regurgitates what she already tried to do so well in the first half. So I don't know. I much preferred my time with like Oscar and the infiltration as opposed to him actually like being in Saltburn, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't know. Alex, what did you think?
Oscar catching strays left and right.
You just said Oscar instead of Oliver.
Oh, sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think for me, I like the middle the best, and I think the middle is where we really get the most of the ensemble. I think, like, obviously Oppenheimer's the best ensemble of the year, but this film's definitely in the conversation in terms of the best ensemble. And again, I think it's going to be overshadowed by the fact that there's not the same love for this film as a whole that there is for some of the other films in the conversation, even though this is clearly one of the best acting ensembles of the year. And it's not really a character study or a character piece. And one thing I love and really do respect is Emerald Fennell, her approach to making sure every character is a flawed character with, no real heroes to the story. There's no character who necessarily does a lot to make them ultra likable or kind of make them feel heroic or like they're the good guy anyway. Like, they're all very flawed characters. They're all kind of taking advantage of each other where they can. And I like that she took the approach of flawed characters, because obviously that opens up room for your film to be more divisive in its reaction and is definitely the less safe option. So I absolutely do respect that. But, I think there's things I like about the characters where all the behavior is very specific. But at the same, and also the characters are very concerned with their own lives, and like they all have kind of their own thing going on. They all have their own priorities. Whereas, you look at a film like a Batman Begins, where in that film, supporting characters are very much there to guide the main character along the journey, and their role in the film always has something to do with the main character. Where in this film, it's very much like they're just characters with their own priorities who happen to cross at certain times. But at the same time, I'm not sure I really love the character writing either. The more I think about it, I think a lot of what makes these characters great is really more coming from the actors and the approach they take to the body language and the movements of the actors, more so than what the script is giving them. And I think that obviously these are some of the most talented actors that are working in the business today, just down the board, and they all bring so much to their characters. But I mean, personally, like, maybe this is like the disconnect from, not being from the UK, but like there wasn't one character who I could look at and say, like, I know a person like that. And I don't know, like, I know Ryan talked about how sometimes they don't feel like real people. And I also kind of felt that way. I think the actors kind of ground them a bit, but I think that, I don't know if maybe that's just because of, my own background and where I live in terms of not knowing characters like this, or if it's really just, because there's people I know in the real world who, if you put them in a movie, most people would look at and say, there's no way that's a real person, when they actually are real people. So I don't know if it's a case of that, or if it's just a flaw maybe in the character writing. But I think that the actors do a ton to kind of ground these characters and make them ultra specific in their own way, even though from a writing perspective, I think they can be a little similar at times. But I think, the character of Oliver, like, there's a lot of questions around him. Like I said, we're not really in his POV. We don't really even know what he wants. Like, were his intentions always bad, or did they kind of change throughout as he spent time at Saltburn? And, did he want to take Felix's spot? like from the start, or what? We don't even ever really know what his intentions are because the film lies to us so much. And maybe they were one thing at the start and changed without us realizing, and maybe without him realizing. So I think that there's interesting ideas to talk about with these characters, and it's a great ensemble. And I think a lot of that, it does come from the actors. And I do want to also mention, it's a really small part, but the girl who Jacob Elordi hooks up with at school, the scene where they're in the stairwell and she's talking to Oliver, just the way like she breathes in that scene, and the way you can kind of understand what she's thinking and how she feels just by like the distinct way she breathes in that scene, I thought was such a small and like brilliantly acted performance that's going to get overlooked due to her small role in the film. That was really like a incredible performance from a side character, which I always love to see. And yeah, just great actors. But Emerald Fennell, clearly, we talk a lot about her set design, her camera work, and all that, but where she shines more than anywhere is her ability as an actor's director, because she was once an actress herself, and she clearly knows how to get incredible performances out of all of her actors. But Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of circle back to what I was saying earlier. I think what you're saying kind of lends to what I was thinking throughout the film, that these characters are written in a surreal way, which makes them not real characters, but it's so well acted that they're able to ground them in the sense of reality. And that's due to like set design, like you said, good direction, and great acting, of course. So I thought it was kind of cool how that like balanced out. I don't know if that was like intentional, but I thought it was like unique. But I got to shout out Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant. They turn in absolute fantastic performances for their limited screen time and limited roles. It is truly an ensemble cast. Everyone is bouncing off one another fantastically. But Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant, although minor characters, really stood out to me, as well as Barry Keoghan, obviously. I think come Oscar season or award season, I hope maybe we see a little bit of praise. Maybe he can sneak in there with some steam, but I thought it was really well acted top to bottom. Jacob Elordi as well. We've seen what he can do. So yeah, I thought overall it was just really well acted, well directed. So totally agree with what Alex is saying. Ryan?
Yeah, just what you were saying about the characters, like not being able to relate to them, Alex. Like, I can't say I can relate to or know anybody like that either. Maybe some people from uni, like, but definitely not on that level. Like, I think, like you were saying, like they're not like real people, but these are like insanely like generational like wealth, like people that are like they're not living in reality. Like these are on like a whole other like insane level of wealth. Like, so that I'm sure Emerald Fennell went to Oxford, so maybe she does know people like this, or know people when she went to uni. So it's maybe relatable to her. But it's definitely not for anybody or any normal person that's watching the movie, because these people are just like it's just at a whole different plane of like existence to like normal people. But yeah, just I love this cast as well. Like Barry Keoghan here, like you were saying, like he's truly like mastered just the ability to play like a little weirdo. So he was perfect for this role. He's no Matt Damon level performance, I don't think. Neither is Jacob Elordi for Jude Law, but those are like insane performances to like try and hold up against. So it's not fair to compare them to that. They both do really good jobs. Like, I've actually been really like pleased with like, or really quite surprised with Jacob Elordi's like sudden like career like change. I would say like he's really broke out like this year, especially into like proper acting roles like with this and Priscilla. Which Priscilla I don't know. I don't think he's gonna get any nominations for that, but I think that would probably go over this if he was to be in that kind of awards conversation. I don't know if any of you have watched Euphoria, but yeah, he's pretty decent in that, and I think he's took a pretty big like acting step up like since then. And I think he probably will be like the next big thing within the next coming years, because I haven't seen Priscilla yet, but from what I've heard, he's been great in Priscilla and this. So he's had a very
I'll say it. I'll put the hot take out. Jacob Elordi better Elvis Presley than Austin Butler. I'll say it. I think his approach is way better. Like I just much prefer the film, much prefer the character, much prefer the performance. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying with Jacob Elordi.
It's probably not ridiculous. I don't hold Austin Butler's to the same length or same height people do, so I'm very open to that happening as well. And yeah, just like you were saying, like Rosamund Pike, like she's phenomenal in this film as well. Like she delivers a really funny performance. Like she's from where a lot of like the comedy came in the second half for me. There's a lot of good moments from her because she's kind of like being really snidey and talking behind people's back all the time. And we kind of get an insight into the characters, like just through all the bad things that she says about them when they're not there. I really like the moment when her and Barry Keoghan are in the garden after the first dinner, where they're all dressed up. They're kind of discussing like her daughter's like habits of throwing up her food. And Oliver says like that he had no idea that it was happening. And she goes, exactly, has it even helped? It was a complete waste of time. And I think that just kind of like showed her character, just the way she delivers it with like a deadpan. Like she's not saying it as like a joke or anything. Like it's just very serious, and that was what was so funny about it, just the way that she delivers it. And that's where a lot of the comedy moments come from me in that second half. So that, yeah,
There was one earlier too. Where she was like, "I went lesbian for a bit, but they're much wetter than guys. Guys are nice and dry." And she just says it so deadpan, like she is absolutely serious. But yeah, absolute great comedic delivery from Rosamund Pike.
Yeah. Carrie Mulligan as well. She's not given much to do, but yeah, she is a great actress. So she does add to that ensemble. But she isn't given too much to do in this film, and she's kind of gone quite quickly. But yeah, I really love the cast. Alex?
Yeah, I think kind of pivoting into the filmmaking for a bit, like this is a film where, like I said, when comparing it to some of the other films that are going to get a lot of award attention this week, and I mean not this week, this year, but yeah, I think in terms of it's really, I don't know how to feel about the film, because you look at some of these other films that are better films, they're better stories, they're more enjoyable watches. But at the end of the day, like, speaking from my own work and, like, the influence it's going to have on me, like, there's definitely things and elements in Saltburn that I'm going to use in my own work and, like, reference and, like, kind of inspire certain styles and things like that. Whereas, some of the other films that are definitely better films are not going to really influence me at all. Like, they didn't do anything that was really fresh and new, but they just happen to be, better stories and, more safe visions, but well executed safe visions. And so it's a very interesting conversation, because in a lot of ways, it's a lot better than a lot of the movies that are going to get a lot more praise and attention this year, even though that I really don't love the script that's behind the vision for this one. But filmmaking and how well adapted it is, I totally agree with Ryan that the 4:3 aspect ratio is such a big strength of the film, and anyone who says it's pretentious, I'll just say right now, is a dead idiot, because the reason why it works so well is not just because it's like, oh, look at us, we're different, it's 4:3. Like, there's actually a calculated reason behind it, because, like I said, this is a performance and ensemble-based movie, and it doesn't use over-the-shoulders in coverage. It's very much isolated characters. And what 4:3 does is it tightens the frame, so close-ups are always stronger, and shots of a character's face have a much bigger impact because it eliminates the dead space on the sides. In addition to that, this is a film about a place, and 4:3 aspect ratios make the frame more vertical rather than wide horizontal. So being about a place and a film that uses elevations and levels, the 4:3 also makes it a more vertical composition rather than horizontal like we're used to seeing. So that's a calculated choice to heighten the effect of the film, and not just a pretentious decision to be different. So I don't know why people think that, because that's just a stupid form of criticism. But I think, yeah, also she definitely brings like a, not quite in every frame of painting approach. There's a lot of coverage in this film, but certainly many frames that are like painting. Sometimes what she does is the thing that some people will do, where they'll have a conversation they'll shoot in coverage, and then at the end of the conversation they'll have kind of the poetic painting like image. Example would be where they get back from finding out the truth of Oliver's parents, and they are going back and forth in close-ups, Keoghan and Jacob Elordi, and actually she shoots that handheld close-ups, which is very difficult and a decision I really like. And then at the very end of that, we see the shot of like Barry hunched over, and the painting next to him is kind of hunched over too. And that's kind of like the art shot. She says that Josh Reynolds, Gainsborough, and Caravaggio were like the big painting influences on the film. And I certainly see the Caravaggio, who was famous for what they called chiaroscuro lighting, which is kind of like this film noir, heavy shadows type of lighting and painting, which we certainly see in this film. And that's why I think that, I don't know, this film has bright, vibrant colors, but I would be very interested to see what this would look like in black and white. It certainly has a lot of film noir elements with, the flawed characters, the unreliable narrator, and its approach to lighting. I think this film could have been just as good, if not better, in black and white. And I'd be very curious to see that, because there's some, and I think the color can at times distract from the lighting, which is one of the big strengths visually. But that brings us to a big question I have, which is, as beautiful as these images are, let's not forget who shot this film. This film was shot by Linus Sandgren, one of, if not easily one of the best directors of photography working in the business today. He shot a lot of Damien Chazelle films and a bunch of other stuff, and he is one of the best. So you have to question, is the images thanks to Emerald Fennell's direction? Was it her trusting Linus Sandgren to just do his own thing, or was it a combination of both? I don't know, but two very talented people clearly did a phenomenal job in bringing the vision to life. And as for, just some visual elements in it, there's that kind of motif, you could say, of when Barry Keoghan says that his father died, Jacob Elordi gives him like this rock. And throughout the film, every time someone dies, you'll see him throw the rock into like a pond or the water. And you see that for every member of Jacob Elordi's family. But if you notice early in the first act, when Oliver throws the rock for his father, it doesn't land in the water. It lands on the rocks right next to the water. And that's foreshadowing, because his father's not actually dead. His father is still alive, and it's all a lie. So I thought that was brilliant visual foreshadowing. As for some other visual things, like the scene where he meets the parents, I thought it's really good with the blocking, where we have the high angle and it's like a wide shot, and it's just like in the corner of the frame, like here, where we have Barry Keoghan and the mother, and it's like this very intimate scene between them. And then when the father comes, he shakes his hand like more at a distance, and just that subtle way that it kind of creates this closeness between him and the mother in this big room of a lot of people who are out of focus was really solid visual storytelling, I thought. And, a couple other things, like those sequences where the cutting rapidly picks up along with the sounds. We see that at Barry's parents' house, and later in the lunch after Jacob Elordi's characters died. And also in that same scene where they change the light to this artistic, strong red light when the tension starts to erupt, but they do it in a realistic way where they just have them shut the curtains. So it's plausible in the story to create this artistic lighting was a very smart decision. Also, of course, like the painting like angel versus devil imagery with that whole party scene of Oliver wearing like the horns, and Jacob Elordi has like the wings on his back, and then we see the wings when he's died at the very bottom right corner of the frame. And then also we see the wings at the bottom right corner, and we see like two statues towering over, and they're like the horn statues, showing how like the demons are almost like coming from within Saltburn and from within its home, how they've kind of infiltrated. So yeah, so much great visual storytelling in this film, which, like I said, makes me want to love it and makes me want to praise the film more than I can, because like I said, we keep going back to and beating up on the script, but like, if it was a better script, what it does with this script, I think is so impressive on its own. But Ryan, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think you summed it up perfectly visually. I think obviously there's a lot of intricate details, I think, that she laid out visually, but there's also some moments in the screenplay that are pretty good. Like even just small stuff like when Oliver sits down for breakfast, like he doesn't know how to order breakfast properly, he doesn't know how to act in front of this very like wealthy family. Even the dinner party that they have, when the men have to speak to the right and the women speak to the person on the left, like he doesn't know how to act. There's all these like small stuff that just constantly reminds us that he isn't supposed to be here. Like he's not at his normal environment. He's completely out of his depth, and it just constantly brings that back up. So there's some moments in the screenplay that I do really like. There's not just visually that she's put a lot of like intricate details into. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that. What did you think about the cinematography? Well,
Yeah, you guys kind of covered everything. Alex did a really good job of outlining how strong this is as a visual movie, and kind of the weak points of the writing. But like you did say, there are some redeeming qualities here. Like it is kind of based off another film. So again, like I don't know how you can write a new movie and make it worse. Regardless, there are some moments that are pretty good, but we kind of summed it up. It's a more artistic film than it is a well-written film. But I don't know if it's a film I'll be revisiting, and mainly because of three big scenes. And we've kind of been dancing around it all podcast, so I'm going to be the first one to rip the Band-Aid off. There are some pretty egregious scenes in here. The first one is definitely the most shocking, and that is the bathtub scene. We get this moment where Barry Keoghan's kind of peering in on Jacob Elordi's character. He's in Saltburn, and they've developed this relationship. There's an infatuation in the air for sure, but almost like stalkerish. But we see basically Barry Keoghan's character watch Jacob Elordi have a bath. Jacob Elordi, masturbates and finishes into the bathtub. Barry Keoghan then takes a moment for Jacob Elordi to leave, and then gets in the bathtub that Elordi was just in, and proceeds to slurp up the remaining bath liquid. So it's pretty grotesque, and it is like really kind of out there. Like it does hit you like a truck. You don't really expect a scene like this, but I liked it. Like it really just kind of pushed his character over the edge. Like he is insane. Like this person does not belong here. They don't deserve to be here. They are not mentally stable. So it did that shock value kind of worked for me. But the other two less so. But I'm curious to hear what you guys thought. Alex, what did you think about those scenes?
I wanted to fucking vomit. But yeah, no. So it's there's three very disturbing scenes in this film, which I'm actually very interested to see how those scenes age, because there was a time when the audiences were disturbed by just violence. Like Bonnie and Clyde was controversial in its own day, and I think you can group this in with films like Fellini's Satyricon and Clockwork Orange, which are very well crafted movies that definitely make you uncomfortable. And I do think Emerald Fennell is not scared to push boundaries and make her audience uncomfortable. And, when you learn screenwriting, they'll tell you things like, oh, you never want to have a character go into the bathroom because like people don't like to watch it. It makes them uncomfortable. And she kind of takes that to a whole new height. So I respect her kind of fearlessness to include such disturbing scenes, because I'm sure a bunch of people told her, do not put this in the movie. And that was her vision, and that's what she wanted it to be. So it's decisions I respect artistically, but I also went home and you just feel like uncomfortable after what you've seen. But I think it's fitting in the way of, there's, like we mentioned earlier, it's this theme of no privacy, and it's you live in this beautiful mansion, but there's also, it comes at the cost of your privacy, and we as the audience have been living in it as well, and now we are going to see what these walls see, which is it's kind of ugly to look at. And an interesting thing is that it's really nothing sexual necessarily that is what's making us uncomfortable. It's more like these weird kind of masturbation things that are so uncomfortable to watch. And I think it can kind of be summed up where with the ending of the film, because I think this film really does spark conversation about shock value in film and its effectiveness, because today we live in a world where to really get your film seen and to get your film to have an impact on an audience, to some degree, you need to be able to create conversation, much of which like online conversation. And shock value, for better or for worse, even if people hate it, it gets people talking about it. Look what we're doing right now. We're sitting here talking about it. I'm sure if you go, I don't have Twitter, but I'm sure if you went on Twitter and searched this movie, there's going to be a lot of conversation about these scenes. And I think it really sums up with the ending, because we have that shot of Barry Keoghan looking at all the graves that he's responsible for. And I think artistically, that shot is such a powerful ending, and it sums up everything of the film. He's the last one standing. He's responsible for all these graves. It's a poetic image that sums up everything in the film. It is the strongest ending artistically. But then what do we get after that? We get him dancing naked all through the house, which is not as strong poetically. I don't think it has as much to say artistically, but it's what's going to generate more conversation. Him standing by a bunch of graves, or everyone saying, I can't believe he danced through the house naked at the end of the film. It's going to get the audience talking a lot more. And honestly, I think it connects back to what Will said about it being a very Gen Z film. Like, I think that there are to succeed with Gen Z, you could argue it sparks the discussion of, is it more effective to have what's going to get people talking more than what is the most fitting ending for the film itself. So I think comparing those two endings is really kind of sums up this whole conversation. But Ryan, what were your thoughts on the ending and all of the shock value, we could call it, in the film?
Yeah, like you were saying, like on Twitter, people talk about it. I think that exactly worked in this case because I had the bathtub scene spoiled before I even seen the movie. That was all over Twitter. I could not avoid it. So yeah, I knew that was going to happen going in. So it definitely worked. It got people talking about it. I don't think that is okay to have in. I mean, I don't think all the scenes work. Particularly the grave scene that we see later on, like where Barry Keoghan has sex with Felix's grave. That I don't know what she's trying to go with for that. That was just weird. I think she could have took that scene out. But I think the other scenes have actually got more to them than people are giving credit to. Like throughout the second half of the film, like we constantly start to see a little bit more of the breadcrumbs of Oliver's plan. First half we kind of don't really know what he's planning when he gets there. Maybe he didn't even know what he was doing before he got there. But as he does start to squirm his way into the family, we see him kind of just try to make his way into each relationship of the people in the family. Like when he's with Rosamund Pike, like he starts to see or tell her that she's gorgeous. And we see that she's not really used to people just speaking that like bluntly to her. And it's not something that's brought up again until the end of the film, where we see him kind of using that affection towards her again, and then eventually he gets in a relationship with her, and that's how he completes his ultimate plan. He also does this with pretty much every character in the film as well. Like the scenes with Venetia, that's another big scene that people were talking about. That all kind of plays into just him asserting like his dominance over her in general. Like there's like moments even after that where he's making her eat food at breakfast after getting told that she has a problem with throwing up her food after dinner. Like he's trying to like just like show his dominance over, like making her like actually eat the food. And I don't know, maybe if he had a plan to keep her around to the end, like if she didn't turn on him after Felix dies. I don't know if that was maybe a plan at this stage, or if he always had an idea to get rid of her. But yeah, he tries to get in more of the characters. Just like that scene where the other scene. There's so many dodgy scenes that people have been talking about where he sneaks into Felix's cousin's room and then he sends the emails. At least that one had a purpose. Yeah, there's so many moments in this film that are questionable. And there's, I don't know, see the moment when he's talking about Carrie Mulligan leaving, and at the moment of the film, I thought that maybe he had done something to her, because the way he like talked about it to Rosamund Pike, it's as if he like is trying to pull it out of her to like bring it up, and it seems like he's maybe done something. But I think if he actually had done something, like she would have spoon fed it to us at the end in that montage. So I don't know if that was just nothing, like maybe it's completely separate. Did you think that at the time, that he'd maybe done something, or was that just me?
I don't know. I don't know if I thought that he had done something deliberate to make her leave. That wasn't like a clear, assertion that I made.
Yeah, no, I think she definitely would have put it in like the montage at the end if he had done something. So I think that is just me reaching. But yeah, at the end, like obviously, there's that scene where Oliver's plan like ultimately falls apart when Felix discovers all the lies and he's been telling him. His parents aren't drug dealers. Like he isn't a lonely child. He isn't even poor. In fact, he's actually kind of he's very well off for Liverpool, I'd say. He doesn't have a mansion, so he's very far from their kind of level of wealth. But he's still far from that like working class persona that he had created at the start of the film. Which in fairness is like, it's still quite an interesting dynamic, like him being like on the side of being, because in Liverpool, like we see his house at the end, like, or yeah, towards the end, like he's pretty well off. Like they'll be pretty high up in like the north of England. So he's kind of like a big fish in a small pond living in Liverpool. And then he goes to Oxford. It's a completely whole different dynamic. He's going into that. It's one of the hardest universities to get into in the world. Like he's now in a situation where he's like a big small fish in a big pond, and he's at a different level to everybody there. So I think that is an interesting dynamic also in the screenplay. Although I don't think all the classes or all the themes about classes that she says is perfect, but I did kind of like that part. But ultimately, I didn't think the twist worked that well. It does kind of hurt like the stuff about classes that I liked in the first half. And I think she could have explored those better, and it just ends up in a way that she doesn't really try to say much with it, I think, and it kind of makes you look through the first half in a different way, which is good, but I don't think it works particularly well, and it's a very obvious twist, at least for me, especially because I knew going in that it was similar to Talented Mr. Ripley, so that I seen it coming from a mile away, and then those last final 20 minutes just kind of drag. It's a very obvious twist, and then we have to sit through Fennell kind of spoon feeding like every single moment that he was like breaking into Felix's life, like just that montage. It just really wasn't needed, and it really brought the film down for me. But yeah, what did you think about the ending in general?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the ending with her spoon feeding back those moments to us, like, completely destroyed everything she'd worked so hard to build. Like, you want that ambiguity. You want us to twist the knife ourselves. Like, you want us, the viewer, to think what could happen, what did happen. But instead, she opts to give us everything. Like, I don't know. It's just like it's a cop-out way of filmmaking. And I don't know if it was like the studio was like, I didn't get it, so you have to add this, or if that was like a creative decision that she made. It's tough to know, but yeah, like you said, like it almost ruins the ending for me. That last 20 minutes was just like brutal. Like I didn't need to see that. But yeah, Alex, what do you think about the ending?
Yeah, in terms of that, like those flashbacks, for me, it's not as much that they're there as much as I felt like there was an unevenness to them. Like we just watched like over 2 hours worth of film, and it's just like 3 random parts of the plan. It's not like there was like one at each chapter of the film. It was just like 3 random flashbacks that felt like, I don't know, it felt kind of unstructured to me. But yeah, actually, Ryan, because you talked about this, which I'm curious what you guys think about, which is what's the overall message of the film? Because in a lot of reviews, I see people talking about, you know, how they feel about what the film's commenting on. And you know, for a first watch for me, I really wasn't thinking about any of that. It was just like, I was just kind of going for the experience of the film. And on a second watch where I was more paying attention to it, I still really don't think the film is necessarily sending a message or commenting on ideas the same way a lot of people think it is. Maybe it is, I'm not sure, but I feel like, you know, I see a lot of like ism words about it. A lot of them I probably don't even really know what they mean, but you know, like, or commenting on classism and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's really as much of, at least from my perspective, I didn't connect the dots to it being a commentary on ideas such as that myself. But I'm curious what you guys thought.
Yeah, I didn't think, like, obviously there's a lot going on here. Like I said, I wrote a couple, like, themes that just came to me, like, homoerotic, trendy and modern, edgy, Eat the Rich, it's a period piece, psycho thriller, whodunit mystery. Like, there's just like so much going on that I don't know. It's hard to like pinpoint one distinct discernible theme that like she was really trying to push, I guess. But the theme that I kind of took away from it, which maybe isn't the most common one, but it's easy to manipulate people. Like life, everyone goes through life with these different masks that they put on and take off, and you know, and Barry Keoghan's character was just like, fuck this, I'm tired of living my shitty life, I'm just gonna throw on Felix's mask and live his life. So that's kind of how I interpreted. But yeah, like you said, Alex, there's just so many ways this could be spun just because of how loosely and littly she touched on such a wide variety of themes. But yeah, Ryan, I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of stuff, like, also Feed the Rich, like you said. I think that probably would have worked better if she stuck with, like, the working class kind of taking over. I don't know, it's kind of interesting because in the UK, it still kind of is Eat the Rich because of them. They're, like, as I was saying, they're on, like, a different plane of existence. Like, it still is, like, him breaking into this, like, world that he has no chance of going into unless you were born into it. So it's very different from like something like the US per se, where you can like work your way up, or the idea is that you can work your way up. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like ideas with classes that she sets up, which I don't think are really completed that well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck as well. Like as I said, like there's no like set thing that she's saying in this film, so I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, I think it's more of an experience than it is a commentary. That's just at least my interpretation of it. But actually, building off what Will said though about manipulation, I think it's also easy to manipulate them because these are characters who kind of live in this isolated fantasy world, and because of that, they don't really ask questions. Like they never really seem to question anything, to be honest, and question anyone's intentions, which is why you never question Oliver, and he's able to pull off what he does. So I think that there's definitely a lot of, ignorance to, just simply asking questions.
That's the thing, they don't ask questions. He's got a northern accent. They just assume that, but they have no idea what people are like from that area. Like they were saying when Oliver first introduced to them, some of them didn't even know where Liverpool was. They would just hear his accent and just assume that he would be from a nothing background. They wouldn't question anything that he has told them because they just think that, well, I think Rosamund Pike says that like they've not even got any real like rehab centres or anything like in Liverpool. Like they have like no idea of like the world outside of their like bubble. So like that's why they wouldn't question anything that he tells them. So
and I think it's a deliberate choice though. Like I think that's done on purpose. Like
yeah, definitely.
Emerald Fennell wants these characters to kind of seem like they're living in their own bubble, and that's kind of the commentary, right? Like the rich are so disconnected from what us pagans, normal people have to deal with. So. Like, I feel like that kind of social commentary she was going for it. Like
people were annoyed though because I mean I'm not sure about her situation, but she went to Oxford and I don't know how about she is, but I know some people were annoyed that she was trying to, not necessarily that you shouldn't be able to talk about stuff if you're from like a certain background or not, but I don't know. I know that was just something that people were annoyed about.
Yeah, I saw people were frustrated that she was the one telling this story to like the people were likening it to the Cronenberg and Infinity Pool, which I saw a lot online. But I don't know. I don't think just because you're from a certain background means you have to tell certain stories. So I think that's a little bit of a harsh critique. But yeah, it's kind of just a surface level commentary. But I kind of am on the side with Alex. It's more of an experience than a commentary. Just sit there, enjoy the movie. Don't think too much about it, I guess. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, about actually, her background, I think, who knows this world better than her, if that really is. I don't know what her upbringing is or any of that, but I think if that's the world she comes from, then who better to, I'm not even saying this is a criticism or not, but I think who better to understand how to criticize it than someone who knows these people on an intimate level. But yeah, I think Ryan, I'm curious because you mentioned the accents. Could you hear like a difference in Barry Keoghan's accent compared to the rest of them? Because I personally think they're all UK accent, but I'm curious. So there's like a difference in them.
I noticed Barry's accent too.
Yeah, at the start, Barry Keoghan does have like a kind of a Scouse accent, which is what people have from Liverpool. I didn't really notice it for the rest of the film. I don't know if he purposely kind of tries to adapt maybe to his new environment. I don't know if that's on purpose or if I just stopped noticing it. But yeah, the rest of the accents are very different. Like Elordi's a very posh, like Oxford, obviously of course, accent. What all of them do. But yeah, they're very different to Jacob or no, Oliver's accent. At least I noticed it. What were you gonna say, Will? Sorry.
No, I noticed it too. Like he definitely has a different accent. Barry Keoghan to Jacob Elordi, like in the movie, they have different accents. But I don't know. I don't know if he was like blending more in. I didn't notice anything like that. But it wasn't like a big like, oh look, sticking out like a sore thumb. They should immediately know that he's a liar. So I don't know.
Well, there was just
Probably
it would be like general, just like the way he says stuff is like completely different from like south to north, which would just completely kind of tell them that he's not from their world. So it's not just the accents; it would just be the words or just how you would say stuff would also expose him. So there's interesting stuff with that as well.
Yeah. Well, Any more thoughts? I think we've done a really good job of kind of recapping and analyzing this film from an artistic and a writing perspective. But Alex, did you have anything you want to get off your chest? Anything more?
One last point I totally forgot to make, which is something I love that the film did, is that with the connection to having no privacy, how much the characters are overhearing each other. Like, we see it when they're kicking Farley out. We see it when he meets the parents. We see it at the school when Jacob Elordi's talking to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend says how, like, no one likes Oliver. And I think, like, in real life, a lot of people are not conscious of how much sound travels, and I think that this film did it. And I think in movies, a lot of the time, you'll see, like, the two, it'll be a crowded place, but, like, everyone's out of focus, and just the two people are talking, and no one around them seems to hear anything. And I think I liked how there's so much overhearing in the film, because I think it just added another layer of, one, realism, and two, adding to this theme of no privacy. So I thought that was something that was recurring that I thought she did really well. But
It also lends to that. It also lends to that voyeurism that you were kind of talking about, like that stalking kind of atmosphere that she does a good job of creating. So yeah, I totally agree.
Do we have a game, or are we wrapping it up?
I have some grids for you to do for the game.
All right.
JK.
I will send them in Discord for you to see, and then I'll edit it into the video. Yeah, we've got a grid game. A 3x3 grid. Each square in the grid gives you a different amount of points depending on the difficulty of the question. So we've got some actors or directors, or maybe a decade, or something about the title of the film. And each person have a turn to try and guess one of the squares, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. So,
Sounds good.
I will send them the first one. It's very scuffed because I just done it in Paint, and then I'll fix it.
We'll do a nice one for the video. Hopefully the viewers are looking at a more beautiful grid.
There you go.
Scuffed? Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Okay, so how do we want to decide who goes first?
Ladies first, you got it.
Wow. All right, fine. I think it is an advantage to go first, so I'll take it, I guess. Okay, let me have a good gander at this board. So yeah, they're all each different box is going to give me a different number of points, right? And the number of points is the number in the box.
Yeah, and this is quite an easy round to begin with, just to get the idea.
This is, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go pretty easy. I'm gonna go James Cameron and Leonardo DiCaprio, Titanic.
Yep. Okay, so
I'll go Spielberg and DiCaprio for Catch Me If You Can.
Yep. So 7 versus 6 so far.
I'll go Spielberg and Zoe Saldana, Avatar: Way of Water.
Yep.
All right. Give me James Cameron, Ryan's hero, with Avatar.
The one word title, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll do Zoe Saldana, 2020's Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yep. So 7 points.
Fuck me.
And now it's getting tough.
I thought I made it too easy.
Zoe Saldana. Steven Spielberg. What the fuck?
This is the hardest question in the grid, in fairness. So you might want to go for something else.
Yeah, I don't trust Will can get it on his own. So
Yeah, I don't know.
all right, give me One word title, 2020s. Nope.
So what do we have left? We've got Leo 2020s.
One word. Zoe Saldana or 2020s DiCaprio. But the only
What's the one?
you could only win with Saldana and Spielberg.
No, it's not X's and O's. It's for points, no?
Yeah, it's points.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it were tic-tac-toe.
Bro, I literally...
I was going for. I thought we were
Said it twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just
Okay, I'll go Leonardo DiCaprio 2020s. Don't Look Up.
Yep.
All right, well, I'll take Hook with Spielberg. Which could win my tic-tac-toe.
Could have been. So this is the last one, Spielberg and Zoe Saldana?
Yeah.
I don't know it. Do I? I gotta know it.
You have both seen it.
You've seen
Let me
it?
double check, actually. It's not like an obscure Spielberg.
It's not an obscure Spielberg?
It's not?
There's a lot of Spielberg films.
Yeah, there
What is
are. I just can't think of Zoe Saldana in any.
It's not
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
TV movie or something. Like it's a.
Most 21st century Spielberg's kind of obscure, except for a couple.
I don't know.
It doesn't have to be 21st century.
Yeah, it could be any.
Yeah, but
But
now
has-
her age, it's got to be 21st century, unless she was like a kid.
Oh, maybe she was a kid. I don't know. I think I have to pass.
I'll
don't
take it.
know.
I'll take a shot in the dark. Post.
Oh, nope.
Yeah, I was just taking a shot.
Fablemans?
Oh wait,
What?
I have screwed up. You've not seen this.
Oh.
I thought everybody's seen this.
Well, what was it?
The Terminal.
The
Which
what?
one?
Terminal. The one with.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. Zoe Saldana's in that though? I thought it was like Tom Hanks. and
Yeah.
shit.
It's Tom Hanks.
She's like the third row of the cast. I don't remember. I think she has like a decently big role in it.
Interesting.
We got another one. Or?
Yeah, we've got another one. So, the
find
winner of this one, since he's just ran out of guess or tries, Will has 23 points, and in second place with Alex has 19 points.
Oh, so it's actually pretty close. That would have
Yeah.
that if one of us could have got that, I
was
would
the
have won it.
winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, so you said this one's a little bit harder. That one I was already racking my brain, so hopefully I don't embarrass myself here.
this one is very scuffed. I'm gonna have to set new rules for this one.
Oh God. And Alex, the numbers are point values, so you want to go for the big ones
Oh.
first.
2 seconds.
And no wonder, because I was like, why would he go for DiCaprio and James Cameron? I'm like, why would he not take the middle spot?
Okay, the second one is incoming. They go. Okay. Right. The middle row or sorry, no. You can take the same movie twice. So like the same movie can appear more than once on the board for this one. And for the 2010s Justin Timberlake one, you can take a duplicate or you can take another one for more points.
Okay, so if you duplicate,
If you duplicate,
You only
you
get
get
6.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, Alex, I went first the last time, so it's only fair that you go first this time.
Can I take a film that's not out yet?
What?
I take a film that's been, the cast has been announced, but it hasn't come out
I
yet.
don't even know
What
what
are you
you're.
talking about?
Yeah, what film?
Well, the film I'm talking about is Frankenstein Del Toro. It's got Garfield and Oscar Isaac.
Oh, you know what? I'd give that to you. They're both confirmed for the
Yeah.
cast, right?
Yeah, I'll
Get
get it to you.
Damn. Okay, that's not where I expected you to go.
that was my really interesting one because the idea I had for that was Spider-Verse, which you wouldn't have thought Andrew Garfield was in because it's just like a
that's
cameo.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, now, do I get risky? I feel like there's a movie that I haven't seen, but I'm pretty sure both of them are in it. Or do I just go a bit... Okay, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to go Coen Brothers, Oscar Isaac, Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Yeah, that's correct.
How is Oscar Isaac in 2010s worth 8 points? He's in like a gazillion 2010s movie. That might be the
Really? I was
Your
thinking about
brain
taking
just
it.
might go blank.
I couldn't think.
All right, well, I'll take that one and give me... I'll take Ex Machina.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely 2010s.
Yeah.
Could have gone Star Wars, but I just didn't even want to give it. Doesn't even deserve
yeah,
it.
I forget. Okay, I'll go
Remember, you
Adam.
can't take duplicates.
Yeah, I'll go Adam Driver and 2010s A Marriage Story.
Yep.
I will go Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield, Silence.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. He is in Adam Driver, isn't it? Yeah.
I had a feeling that's what you were thinking of.
I haven't seen Silence, but I got to get on it. Okay, I don't know that Coen, so I'll just take Social Network, JT, and Garfield.
So tap in.
All right, I'll take... What do I want? All right, I don't know shit about Justin Timberlake movies, so I'm just going to double up 2010's Justin Timberlake Social Network.
Wow. Okay.
So what do we got left? We got JT and Coen Brothers and Adam Driver and Coen Brothers.
Yes.
Ooh. Coen Brothers.
Yeah, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank. Justin Timberlake and Coen Brothers. Is he? I don't know. Now I'm like second guessing everything I've ever known. Damn, so it's only those two left. JT. Okay, I'm gonna.
It's very scuffed.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I don't know, but I'm gonna go Justin Timberlake, Coen Brothers, Burn After Reading.
No.
No,
I'll go...
VAR it, just in case, but I don't think so.
no, I don't think he is. But I thought maybe he might have snuck in there. I can't think of.
I'll go Justin Timberlake, Coen Brothers, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Is that the one? I haven't seen it. Oh, Adam Driver, Coen Brothers. Am I losing my mind? He's not in, like, I don't know. I'm at a decent loss here.
You're not gonna be happy when I
Like-
tell you.
Oh no. Okay, maybe it's like something like ridiculous. Is it like Adam Driver, Coen Brothers, Fargo?
No.
I don't know.
Would have been young for that.
Yeah, you would have been pretty young for that.
Adam Driver, Coen Brothers, Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Mhm.
I just know that's like a collection of short films. So I'm like, all right, it's definitely got a big cast.
Oh,
More.
Adam Driver, Coen Brothers, Where Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh, it's fucking, what's his name? It's Clooney. It's not even.
Yeah, it's cool.
I thought he was the lead. I was like, oh, I got it.
All right. Adam Driver, The Man Who Wasn't There, I think it's called.
Nope. Think about the rules I set out at the start.
There's no. It's a. I'm
got
so at a loss.
I got it.
Oh no,
That's
I
why
don't have either.
Does you know?
I do know.
I'm gonna go. I think I have to pass. Oh no.
Justin
Does Alex actually know?
Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Yeah.
It's Llewellyn Davis. Totally forgot about that. Bro.
He just
Oh
Ryan
my.
just gave it away low key.
Yeah, he did. He said he did. I know. I didn't even remember he was in it though. Like,
And I'm like, oh,
that's
thinks it's a music movie.
How about the Driver Coen brothers? Well, did you have something in mind for that? Couldn't think of that.
I was gonna guess Inside the Well.
Buster Scruggs.
You gonna take a guess?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Take it.
I don't know if I could name another Coen brothers. No Country for Old Men, Adam Driver.
I'll take another guess.
Okay.
Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Yeah.
Yes, he gave such a layup there.
I actually hate myself, but I hate you more than I hate myself. So, now that's fair play.
So let's go 44 points.
Dude, I didn't even. That just tells me I gotta rewatch Inside Llewellyn Davis again. Don't remember shit from that movie clearly.
I hate yourself even more. I never seen it.
Oh my god. Apparently, that's actually at the end of that's apparently supposed to be a Bob Dylan. At the end of Inside Llewellyn Davis, so like he lost out his roles. So
Whoa, spoilers! No spoilers. I haven't seen it.
well, it's not really a spoiler. It's not. It's
a great film. You should watch it.
No, I do want to watch it. It's out on my list.
Okay, Alex takes me down. That's 1-1. I guess we're gonna have to come back next week with some more grid trivia. But yeah, let us know what you thought about the grid trivia. Let us know what you thought about the Saltburn review. As always, all of our Twitters, letterbox in the bio. Talk to us, comment. We always like to respond, argue, debate. Tell us how wrong we were. As always, watch all these movies, formulate your own opinions, and thank you so much for listening.